promise to veto any maps drawn by legislators or politicians. Today, on a summer Friday afternoon news dump, with no fanfare, Governor Pritzker broke that promise and signed the legislative maps. Even though yesterday he told reporters he was undecided and hadn't reviewed the maps. Governor Pritzker, you sold out. You sold out independents. You sold out Republicans. You sold out Democrats to the partisan Democrat machine, which has destroyed Illinois. And Governor, not only did you sell out, but you lied. Illinois, when you're the governor, your words mean something. Governor Pritzker himself repeatedly stated that he supports the independent commission. So then why, Governor, did you sign these partisan maps? To draw these maps, Democrats blocked reforms that would ensure an independent commission that was in charge of drawing the maps. But unfortunately, Speaker Madigan and now Speaker Welch cut backroom deals behind locked doors to pick their voters, entirely circumventing the Democrat process. And yes, you heard me, Speaker Madigan. This is right out of the playbook. They, the Democrats, including Governor Pritzker, ensured as little time possible would be allowed for public comment. The final maps were introduced less than 24 hours before they were called for a vote. Finally, they passed it in the 11th hour, citing an end of June deadline that we all know is fake. Now, their sole goal, let's be perfectly honest, their sole goal throughout this process was to retain control of Springfield, to keep the stranglehold on Illinois and Illinoisans. Governor Pritzker refused to hear the voices of people telling him that this was a bad idea and this is a bad map. Countless advocacy groups feel the same way. Governor, by signing this bill, you have turned your back on millions of Illinoisans who are desperately seeking honesty in government. You turned their back on them. These people, these advocates, showed up asking to be heard, participating in a process in an earnest way, only to have their concerns completely ignored. Governor Pritzker, you have made a mockery of this democracy. Most of all, I'm very outraged that Governor Pritzker sold out to the people of this state and signed into law a map that is the antithesis of a transparent government. Governor, again, you lied to Illinoisans, from Chicago to the northwest part of Illinois, central Illinois, the suburbs, the collar counties in southern Illinois. You lied. You made a promise when you ran. You can't walk that back. Governor, you did sold out. You sold out. You proved that today, once and for all. Illinoisans should know that your word is not good. I'll now turn this over to Senate Minority Leader Dan McConkey.
Thank you, Leader Durkin. My name is Dan McConkey, Senate Republican Leader of 26th District of Illinois. I'll keep my comments brief. In 2018, candidate Pritzker was clear and unmistakable when he told the people of Illinois that yes, he pledged to veto as governor any state legislative redistricting map proposal that is in any way drafted or created by legislators, political party leaders, their staffs, or allies. Today, Governor Pritzker proved that his unequivocal word means nothing. More than 75% of the public clearly supports independently drawn legislative maps. Today, Governor Pritzker signed a partisan map drawn by politicians with one goal and one goal only, and that's to maximize power over the people of this state. It appears candidate Pritzker was only saying what he thought he needed to do to get elected. This is a blatant effort to kill democracy in Illinois, and it will not go unanswered. We will use every tool at our disposal to return power to the people once again and make sure that the governor pays a political price for lying to the people of Illinois. He can pretend that he reviewed the maps, but we all know that the promise was to veto a map drawn by politicians, so any review that he was doing was clearly for show. He said a lot about the Voting Rights Act, but using inaccurate, flawed data clearly deviates from the practice of one person, one vote. He pretended to be a reformer, but he's just proved he's more of the same. A politician who will do anything to get elected, get power, and get your money. And with that, I'll turn it over to Leader Butler.
Thank you, Leader McConkey. I'm Tim Butler. I'm state representative from the 87th district. I live here in Springfield. I am the Republican spokesperson on the House Redistricting Committee. I think what we have here today is the culmination of a foregone conclusion among the Democrats in Illinois. A bad deal for the public, but it's a deal between Governor Pritzker and the General Assembly to push through partisan maps and push aside their concerns that they have voiced for several months now about these maps. And they pushed aside these concerns to solidify their own political monopoly in Illinois. It's as easy as that. The governor just yesterday, in interviews about redistricting, stated that he honestly had not reviewed the maps. Well, obviously the governor didn't need to review the maps if he had not reviewed them last night and signed them today. It was a foregone conclusion he had in mind. In fact, he probably just could have come to the chambers of the legislature and signed them as soon as they were voted upon if this is what he was going to do. Again, as has been stated by Leader Durkin and Leader McConkey, the governor has gone back on his repeated word to the people of Illinois to veto politically drawn maps. As we have pointed out for the past week, the very legislation that the Democrats put forward in the General Assembly talked about the fact that they drew these maps in a partisan manner. We've had news conferences within the last couple of days pointing out the partisan nature of these maps, exactly opposite of what the governor said he would sign. Exactly the same as what the governor said he would veto, a partisanly drawn map. So what we have here today is the governor going back on his word, the Democrats continuing to do the same old playbook that they've had for generations to the detriment of the people of Illinois. This is a sad day in the history of Illinois. It really is. We had an opportunity in this 10-year cycle to move forward in a positive fashion that so many of us supported. But Governor, you let us down. You let the people down, more importantly, and that's on you. With that, I turn it over to my friend and fellow Republican from the Senate, Senator Jason Barackman, for further comments.
Thanks, Tim. Jason Barackman, I represent the 53rd District out of Bloomington. As Representative Butler said, I am the Senate Republican spokesperson for the redistricting hearings. You know, as a candidate, J.B. Pritzker told us that he was going to be different. He said that he would fight the machine and he would represent people over politics. Today, he broke his promise and abandoned the people of Illinois. And by this action joins a long list of politicians who say one thing and do another. People are tired of politicians picking their voters. The people of this state deserve an independent process that allows them to choose their representatives. Unfortunately, the governor had an opportunity to be different, to keep his word, and to begin restoring Illinoisans' faith in their government. But unfortunately, Governor Pritzker, by all accounts, has failed in that.
I have a few questions that have come in. Dave Dahl from WTAX. Millions of Illinoisans are thinking of their family's health, graduations, the price of gas, and where did I put my sunglasses? Not this topic. How do you make it resonate with people?
This was an opportunity for the governor to do the ultimate power washing of Springfield, one that is desperately necessary. This is the ultimate form of ethics reform. And by the governor turning his back on the 50 advocacy groups and every Illinoisan who's desperate for honesty in government, this is what is on people's minds. Go back to last November when he lost the fair map. That was a rejection of him and his policies, of what he's done to the state, and more importantly, what Mike Madigan and all his cronies who are still in the House of Representatives, of what they're doing to this state. This just furthers what has happened over the past many decades. There is no change. There's no transparency. There's no new way of doing business in Springfield. Ultimately, that affects Illinoisans in their employment, and more importantly, it affects them when they pay their taxes.
Now that the governor has signed the maps. Is your primary hope of altering this map through the courts? What are your plans for a legal challenge against the maps?
Well, we're going to examine all the options. We'll look at that this weekend, and we will see how we can best return power to the people.
Was it right to redraw the Supreme Court maps to make the districts more equal in population to reflect population shifts in the last 50?
Well, it's interesting that they use this moment to redraw the Supreme Court districts because they haven't seen fit over the past 30 years. But this is clearly an opportunity for the Democrats who believe that district, that third district where voters, independents, Republicans, and Democrats did not retain the Democrat Chief Justice. The Democrats are afraid of losing control. This is all, again, about power and control by the unions, the trial lawyers, and the people who rely upon the Supreme Court. They do not want to see the voters in that district. They don't want to see them make a choice of who they want to have on the Supreme Court. They could have done this decades ago, but it's no mistake. They lost that district. The area is becoming more Republican, more independent, and they would not be able to retain that seat. So this is how they abuse power. And they've mastered that art over the past many years. And the speaker right now is following the same playbook and advancing the same agenda that has destroyed Illinois for decades.
So this is a clear politicization of the judiciary. So not only did they redistrict the Supreme Courts, but on the last day of session, they also were redistricting select circuit courts in the state purely for partisan gain. I mean, this is highly problematic. It's one thing to, have a political fight in regards to political maps. It's another thing entirely to drag the judiciary into that fight. It's very disturbing, and it'll just goes to show the willingness to pursue power at all costs that the majority has at this point.
Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel. And while you're at it, please leave us a comment. Thank you for watching.